He said, we'll give you $1 for every shot you shoot under your age. I played with Pete that day, and Pete got $56. There's my second guy. $8 a man times 7 was 56. You'd have thought Pete got $56 million. We got in, I just won $56. It was great. And we had the best time, and I played with Pete that day, and he should have earned about $75. He played so well. But he was a great guy, and my brother Freddie Einstein and Pete were good friends. They were perennial champs at Forsyth member guests. They loved each other, and Pete and I went out to see Freddie when Freddie was sick, and Pete just couldn't be a better guy. He operated on me 3 times, and I tell you, the guy was an unbelievable surgeon. And you talk to anyone working in the hospital, and they were just unbelievably how what Pete did in that hospital. But he was a great doctor and a great friend and a great guy. And here's a glass of good Pete.
Yeah. I'll go next. It's hard to get everybody quiet. So I'm Wendy. I'm the 3rd in line. There's 6 of us. Christopher's the baby. I just want to tell you a couple memories I have. And some were on the golf course, and I know y'all probably have a lot of those, but I'm going to tell you some that aren't on the golf course. I want to explain what it was like to go to the movies with Peter Parker. He loved to go to the movies. Like, we would go all the time. He would love the comedies. Naked Gun was one of his favorites, Airplane. But he also would go to scary movies. And he liked to sit in the front row. And he wasn't very quiet. And he would talk a lot about wanting to understand what was happening to all of us. Be like, why are they doing that? And he would stand up in his seat and be like, she's going in that door. Why is she going in the door? What's she doing in the door? And he's standing up, and we're like, Dad, he just couldn't contain himself. And we were mortified because the movie would be, it was like Amityville Horror, some major movie. So that was really, really fun to go to the movies with Dad. But looking back, he would just laugh at, what he was like to go to the movies. A few years ago, when my husband Neil and I, we sold our house and we didn't have a house to go to yet, and Dad had that big house with nobody living in the upstairs. And I asked him, I'm like, hey, while we figure out what we're doing, which we ended up moving to Bermuda Run, and we had to fix it up, so we ended up being with him for like 10 or 11 months, him and his 2 dogs. And he loved it. He was working full-time at that point at a wound clinic in Greensboro, and they would feed the doctors at lunchtime. Huge spread, which would not go finished. So every night he would come home with massive amounts of food because, he doesn't want to leave food. And he would kind of do this ritual where he would carry his little platter and he'd be like, doggies, I've got some food for you. And, it was like every night, and these dogs were fed like better than anybody. And one time we were all sitting around the dinner table, Dad was sitting with us, and my son Max, who's here, he was 4 years old at the time. Now he's 16. I don't know where he is. There he is, right there. He kind of left the table and left the room, went out in the hallway, and we're like, what is he doing? We're like literally in the middle of food, and Dad's there. And all of a sudden, little 4-year-old Max comes in the room with his hunched little shoulders and acting like he's carrying a tray of food, and he's like, doggies, I got some food. And my dad, lost it. It was spot-on imitation, and he was just his belly laugh. He was just couldn't contain it. It was so fun. And there's so many stories like that, but I'll just say, the last year, I got to spend a lot of time with him. I'm pretty much the only one of his kids that lives nearby, and last year I stepped away from my job, and I wasn't working 50 hours a week, and I got to come by and be with him quite a bit, and he wouldn't want to talk a lot about end-of-life things, but we knew he was getting up there, and he was pretty skinny, and he didn't eat a lot, and I tried to get a little pieces of information out of him, like, what do you want to do? How do you want to do this? He's like, I don't know. He's like, all I know, like Chris said, I just want people telling stories. I want it to be a fun time. I want people laughing and just telling their best experiences they have with me. So that's what I want. If anyone else can come up and do that.
Oh.
Well, here we go.
Here, here.